Welcome to episode number 2 of Scrap Radio, brought to you by BJPenn.com, the official website of former UFC champion BJ Penn. I'm Jens Little Abel Pulver, and today we'll be talking UFC 145, which took place this past weekend. We'll be talking martial arts on the big screen with Hollywood legend Ernie Reyes Jr. We also want to welcome women's MMA star and main event headliner of the Invicta Fight Championship, Marloes Coenen. I want to introduce my little partner, my co-host. You might know him. You might have heard about him or read about him. No, my little brother, Abel Pulver. Abel, can you hear me?
What's up, man?
How you doing, brother? Let's jump right into the UFC, shall we?
Absolutely.
Obviously we had Bones Jones and Rashad Evans, but before that, one of the things I noticed, it was like the night of the youngsters. I mean, for the first time, I felt extremely old. We had Rory McDonald, obviously Bones Jones is a youngster. We had Michael McDonald stepping in there. It was just like a night of the young guys. They were all just tearing it up.
Yeah, don't forget about Wonder Boy, though. His train got derailed. You know, sometimes them young bucks ain't quite ready for a guy like Matt Brown.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I stand corrected on that one. But I think right off the bat, Michael McDonald taking on a former champion to Miguel Torres. Wow, uppercut/uppercut again.
Yeah, you know, that fight was funny to me in a lot of ways. Watching Torres kind of just didn't seem like he was on his game. He just didn't seem like the same fighter I've noticed. And it's just been kind of a rough couple fights for him in a row now.
Absolutely. And there's another opinion of an expert in MMA. He's a fighter in the UFC. He's been around a long time. This man's got 60 fights. I'm going to call him a friend, even though he might be like, shut it, Jens. No, I'm just kidding. Yves Edwards. Welcome, Yves. How you doing today?
I'm good, Jens. How's it going, man? It's good to hear your voice.
Hey, good to hear yours, brother. How is everything? Got my little brother Abel on the line with you, and I figured we'd just talk some UFC.
Man, hey, Abel, it's nice to meet you, man. I haven't met you in the past couple of years that I've known Jens, but you come from good stock, man, because Jens is a good guy. But yeah, the UFC was a pretty good show, man. I was excited about it.
Isn't it weird from where we came from just to see how big this has gotten, and just the fact that, like I said, all these young guys coming in now, having the ability in high school, in elementary school, even I'm about that old, where they get to train and say, hey, I'm going to train some Muay Thai today. I'm going to train some jiu-jitsu today, and be able to do that all the way through, and then choose to be a pro fighter. This card was stacked. It was a lot of fun. Were there any fights, obviously besides the main event, that stuck out for you?
I was really excited for the Rory McDonald and Kay Mills fight. Kay Mills, that guy's a stud, The problem with the English guys is their wrestling is they just don't have the access to the wrestling that we have here. And I guess in Canada, because Rory McDonald was able to control the fight once it got to the mat. But Chay's stand-up, man. I've seen him do some really, really devastating things. And he looked good in the stand-up department. And Rory McDonald is no slouch on his feet either, But Chay was looking good in that department, and Rory decided to change the game. And once that happened, it was pretty much a one-sided affair.
Yeah, it was one of those things. Rory, wow. I mean, he lived up to being this phenom, and a lot of people probably they didn't even get to really see just how good and how devastating Shay can be standing up. Because Rory, man, once he got it down, that was all she wrote. What do you think, Abel?
Well, going back, reiterating on what Yves was saying, it seemed to me that Mills actually had him hurt. And that was almost, I think, what made Rory want to go for the takedown. And as soon as they hit the mat, it was just an absolutely different fight.
Yeah, no doubt, absolutely. The one thing I think was just the inability for Shay once he hit the floor, like what Yves was saying. Rory McDonald just started, just taking off and just getting after it, and That's a bad feeling down there when it's a situation like that where a guy can change it up and there's no longer a stand up fight and they just start bringing in the ground. And so it was definitely impressive to see him. I think he lived up to that moniker, where George St. Pierre said, "Hey, when I'm not holding this belt, this is the kid that's going to do it." You think he'll be champ, Eves?
He has all the tools, man. I think his record has the one loss to Carlos Condit, and that happened when he was a kid. I think that fight would be different right now, and a year or two from now it'll be completely different. Condit will still be a stud, I think, at that point. But if that kid keeps improving like he does, he is like the GSP slash Don Jones of the welterweight division, man. That kid, he's amazing. He's got all the talent in the world. He's been able to he has a great mentor in GSP and a great group of guys to train with up there at TriStar. And I don't know, I just see, like the kid like that, the sky is not the limit. Somewhere out in the universe is the limit, and that place is endless.
Yeah, no kid, no kid. Now, speaking of sky's the limit, is what about Michael McDonald? I mean, he fought a former champ and he dispatched him. I mean, quick. You know what I mean? And the uppercuts, the first one was extreme. It looked short. It was almost unnoticeable. But then obviously the second one, to boom. I mean, he hits him with some thunder. So here's this kid. He's got a lot of power and a lot of motivation behind him.
Yeah, he looked really, really good in that fight. But I honestly, going into that fight, I just thought the experience would be too much for him. And I like to tweet my picks during the fight, and or right when the fight starts. And I literally had just tweeted my pick of Miguel Torres to win that fight, and uppercut, and it was over. That kid is tough. I didn't count him out, but I just thought the experience would be just a little too much for him. But I was wrong, and that was one of those times when, although I consider Miguel a friend and I do like to watch him fight, I didn't mind being wrong in that fight. That kid looks good. He's got a future, man. And a fight with him and Dominic Cruz down the road could be very entertaining.
Hey, Yves, just to kind of piggyback on that point that you're making, watching Miguel, I've watched Miguel for 10 years as a fighter, and I've seen him fight guys that were way above his weight class. He's fought guys as big as, 185-pound guys. What do you think about what's left in his tank? How much do you see Miguel being able to go forward from here?
You know, um, it's always hard when you're trying to assess somebody else's ability. I think Miguel has the talent. He's talented. We know that. The things he's done in the past and the things he's been capable of doing and staying on this level. Sometimes one punch changes his fight, and it doesn't necessarily change your outlook on fighting. Doesn't change your career. And doesn't change the fact that you still want to improve. I think the biggest thing is he still getting better in the gym, and will he be able to translate that into fighting? I think if that's the case, if those things are positive, and he will be able to continue and possibly get back in contendership. But I don't know what he's doing in the downtime, and that's the part that's scary to me, especially for guys like us. Me, Miguel, Jens. We're all part of that. Even though those guys didn't have the name recognition of a guy like Jens 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years ago. He was still in the same boat. WC was a much smaller organization at the time, but he's still in the same boat. He's part of that same generation. And as long as he's improving and has that determination in him, he's going to be able to come back and make something of himself. Jens and I are in the same boat. We suffered some losses and we're working hard to come back. And Jens, again, congratulations on your last fight, man. It sucks that I missed it. That's only like an hour from me, but I was stuck in Houston at the time. But I think a guy like Miguel, he has the potential. Does he have the desire and his brain going? Is he going to be able to focus on those things and apply those things when it comes out to him again?
And Yves, let me ask you about a fighter that you do know a lot about, somebody that you've actually been in the octagon with and competed against. Another guy who had a very difficult fight, one that could have gone either way, obviously a split decision loss, But talk about Mark Hominick on Saturday night against a tough Hawaiian, one of the toughest guys I've seen in a long time, Eddie Ogden.
Man, that fight was hard. Hominick, he's had two tough losses, and Hominick is still the same kid. I think, man, he still comes forward all the time. It really sucks to see him. I think him getting dropped in both of those rounds had the biggest part of played the biggest part in those decisions because he still fights the same way. It's a little different where guys are the level of guys changed quite a bit, and he's not going to break everybody the same way like he did in the past, with his constantly pressing forward, constantly moving forward, whether you hit him or not. And I guess guys are packing bigger punches now because he's been dropped a few times, but he still gets up and he comes forward, and he's always in good shape. I don't think his mindset should change from that fight. Again, it was a split decision, meaning at least two people thought it was a close fight. At least one person thought he won the fight, and the other two guys probably did think it was a close fight. So it's not one of those things where he got blown out of the water and he doesn't look like he could potentially be the same guy. I just hope for him, especially that we're not in the same weight class. And he's a guy that I like, I hope that he does well in all of his future fights, man. And I think he still has the potential. I think the biggest part, though, may be the whole thing with Sean Tompkins passing because those are those are the last two fights that he lost, and I just remember watching Sam Stout fight Thiago Tavares, and he just didn't look like the same guy. I think it's, with time they'll be able to come back from that and bounce back from that. But when a guy is that important to you, that close to you, and that big a part of what you do day in and day out, losing a guy like that, skill-wise, is huge. It's just not even. I couldn't even touch on the emotional part of that because the guy was a brother to one of them, a brother-in-law to one of them, and really close to her. They were pretty much a family all in themselves, So that's. I think that has something to do with some of it, It's one of those things where maybe they think they're over it, and they are to a point, but just having that missing piece in the corner, they still haven't found the thing that can take that place.
No, dead on. I mean, I like that answer. Hey, speaking of future fighting and things of that nature, what have you been up to, and what do you got coming up? I mean, when are we gonna see Yves Edwards sighting?
Man, I want to get back in there so bad. My last fight was December 3rd against Tony Ferguson, and I thought it was a lot better fight than the judges did. Not necessarily saying I think I should have won. I thought I did enough to win, but I could also see where you would feel that he did enough to win. But I just don't think it was 30-27. But I want to get back in there. I enjoy fighting guys like that. Young guys that are going to push me. Guys with a whole new skill set. And these kids have chins nowadays, man. Like I've never kicked somebody in the head 3 times and had them look at me like I'm stupid. So I want to get back in there against tough guys like that. Hopefully it's going to be soon. Unfortunately, I'm getting over an injury. I tore my bicep back in February, and just getting through the end of my rehab now, and hopefully I'll be able to get back in the gym again at about 85, 100% in the next 2 weeks. Take 2 more weeks at that pace, and then just go all out again and go crazy. And hopefully I can get back in there late July, August, and try to take somebody's head off, old school style.
Perfect. No, for sure. Abel, anything else out there to say to the Thug Jitsu master?
Yves, as a big fan of yours since '97. Obviously, I started following your career '99, the Boz Rutan Invitational when you fought Marquardt. Your memorable fights with Aaron Riley. I mean, you fought Ruben Asado, Matt Serra, Cal Uno. That was back in '03 to '05. You got hot then. I wanted to ask one thing from a fan's point of view. The greatest single night of MMA history, Bushido. What was that experience like for you, man?
Oh man, that was great. That was awesome. It was epic. You got 8 of the best lightweights in the world at the time fighting in one tournament. All these guys should go down as legends. whether it be in their own country or in the whole scheme of MMA. You know, you had myself, Hansen, Jen, Gomi, Sakurai, uh, Kawajiri. I mean, it was a great night of fights, and it was also an honor to be in that class of guy. You know, and fighting in Japan, man. Jens will tell anybody. I've said it before. It's sad to see the Japanese MMA isn't what it was, because that's an experience that some of these young guys, they're not going to get unless, you know, UFC and Strikeforce, Bellator, and these organizations do more in Japan. But man, that was a hell of an experience. It's a completely different culture. The fans over there are completely different. It's the intensity of what the UFC's become as far as the fans, but at the same time, it's cultured and reserved to a point where it's just their culture and the way they respect the fighters is just, the energy is a completely different feeling. And being a part of that with the best lightweight tournament ever put on, man, that was an experience I can't even express. I can't even explain. But that's one of the best times of my MMA career ever, still to this day.
Yeah, I was
I
pumped
still
to be on that card with you just because I remember, I was like, I got it. Not only is it Yves, but it's kind of like we were going over to a different nation. But the one thing, like you said, was uh, so tripping about being in Japan is the fact that there's 58,000 people in the stands. It's dark and it sounds like there might be 10. It's literally a Wimbledon type match where they clap when you do something good and then they're just dead quiet. And it's always funny because when you go over there and you fight for the first time, or your cornermen, they're so used to having to yell over the crowd, yell over all the things that are happening. You go out there and they start yelling right off the bat. And I remember Jeremy Horn looking over one time going, I know, I can hear you. It's one of those situations where you really just have to kind of sit back and all you got to do is talk. So, for me, it was always a different deal. And I remember fighting Sakurai in that tournament. And yeah, that got a little painful. I lost the front of my pupil in the eye scratch. And it was a different thing. Abel, how you like being over there in Japan?
love Japan. Love every second of it. The crowds, it's amazing. My favorite thing to do before any event there is to go find a place in the top of the stadium and just sit there and watch the people and watch the whole event basically unfold. The opening ceremonies. I know that both of you were somewhere way up on the scaffolding. I got a little scared when Jens was fighting Gomi. Then I thought, oh my God, they're going to try to make him fall off here. He's 50 feet in the air. They're smashing drums. There's fire going everywhere. And all of a sudden you realize this is the pinnacle of what mixed martial arts could be, man.
Yeah, man, the presentation over there was huge and exciting. It was always like everybody always said to me, man, just feeling the energy when they present all the fighters that were fighting on that event. Just being out in the crowd to feel that energy was something that they claimed that you would never experience anywhere else. It sucks that I never got a chance to be on that side. But at the same time, it's an elite group of guys that got to be on the side that I got to see it from, and it was definitely an honor to be a part of that, man.
Yeah, they definitely know how to do a show over there. They roll you in the bus, and it's one of those things you actually do leave. It is legitimately like a rock concert. Like you're a rock star. They gotta hide you out and take you down a different direction, and everything like that. And that's the one thing about all the fans. There are a lot of. It's a different world, and the fact that you have to have a translator. I look at all the old interviews and I find myself trying to speak all slow and trying to get a Japanese accent going on when I'm trying to talk, and try not to say too much because you have the translator, and things like that. So it always cracks me up because, I mean, you've been in the Saitama Super Arena down at Kitakin Hall, and I remember we get to see the old school rings back there, and yeah, it's one of those things where you never could get too nervous because you just feel like, well, it's you're in a different world, and so you're just going out there and doing your thing. You can't understand half of what they're saying, and they can't understand half of what you're saying. But one thing I definitely want to talk about when we go back to the UFC, um, the main event, Rashad Evans, Bones Jones, they came at it, they had some bad blood. And I think to me, I mean, one, props to Bones. You could definitely see he started getting a rhythm. I loved when it seemed like they were doing the feats of strength. And then he just pops an elbow, pops another elbow over the top. And the one thing I wish I'd have seen more Rashad, I mean, he had Speary over there in the corner. Van Archdale was a great wrestler. I thought, hey, we're going to see the wrestling side of Rashad Evans. We're going to see the clincher, but that just, like I said, when you've done ground as long as you have, sometimes that stand up is just so exciting. You kind of forget your wrestling base. What do you think about that fight, Yves?
On that aspect, you know, the wrestling aspect of the fight didn't. Nobody really pressed it. Rashad, and I think Rashad would have done well in that scenarios, because I've never seen anybody just straight up stop John Jones's takedowns. I've seen Ryan Bader get shot on a low single from a really actually it was a double, but it was from really far out, and Bader, who's an All-American, who's a high-level wrestler, still was taken down by this guy who probably would have been an All-American wrestler if he wrestled Division I school. But at the same time, I think Rashad should have pressed the wrestling action. I think going into that fight, he might have been. I think he was in Jones's head a little bit as the big brother. But that moment. I don't know if Abel has beaten you up yet, but if he had that day that he first started to win a fight against you, that's the day that he's like, I got it now. I'm just gonna keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, because once you get that big brother mentality out of your head, it's hard to get that back. It's hard for the big brother to take that back, and I think Rashad should have put that. And it would be great.
Anytime and always, brother. Be good.
Thanks
Okay,
again, man. You guys take care.
All right, bud. With that, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to see if we have the martial arts stuntman, Ernie Reyes Jr. himself, if we can get him on. So don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back.
Scrap Radio would like to thank BJPenn.com, the official website of five-time UFC champion BJ Penn. For all the latest and breaking news in MMA and combat sports, make sure you check out BJPenn.com, the official website of BJ Penn. And don't forget to check out Scrap Radio every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, hosted by three-time UFC World Champion Jens Little Evil Pulver. Scrap Radio, the official radio show of BJPenn.com.
All right. Well, now that we're getting back into it, I wanted to, first off say welcome back to Scrap Radio. And, I think while we're waiting for that phone call, one of the things I want to talk to you about, Abel, is I got to look at the UFC, 148 in July 7th. This card, I mean, they're claiming it to be the next best thing since UFC 100. And after looking at it a little bit, I'm gonna have to say, wow, this might be one of those fights where you're gonna have to get a couple of plane tickets, take the Scrap Radio, and sit cage side if we could, and just start, sitting there in absolute wonder at this card. What do you think about this thing coming up?
Well, announcing that obviously the Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva rematch is going to be held in Vegas instead of where they had initially thought maybe in a soccer stadium in Brazil. Adding that fight as the headliner, I mean, the rematch of all rematches. One guy's, he's talked the talk, and now he's got his chance to absolutely go out there and walk the walk, and we'll see if he can do it this time.
Yeah, I mean, you got, again, Dominic Cruz, Uriah Faber, Forrest Griffin versus Tito Ortiz, Kung Lee versus Rich Franklin, Michael Bisping versus Tim Bosch. And Bosch is on a tear. That kid, he's a heavy-handed man, and he dropped down a weight. And I mean, that's going to be a crazy fight because Bisping, he always seems extremely motivated. I know he likes to have that anger. He likes to really have, he's got to be angry when he fights you. Bosch is a quiet guy. So I don't know how he's going to muster up the anger in this one, or if he's just going to go out there and, try and take it on. But that's going to be a great fight. And then to see Kung Lee and Rich Franklin back in the cage, man, both fights, Abel. Whew, it's definitely going to be. It has the opportunity. Both of them get to be great fights, or I wouldn't call it lackluster, but the reality, that poke and prod, feeling each other out. No one wants to make, no one wants to really step out past that comfort zone and try to make something happen.
Yeah, there's interesting from top to bottom. I heard recently that Rich Franklin is even training in Muay Thai, I believe maybe in Singapore is what I heard. And, against a guy like Kung Lee, who obviously is not a traditional Muay Thai fighter, not a traditional type of striker. The guy's using flying and magic and twirling. And I mean, it's one of those fights that you look at even that fight to an extent, anything could happen at any moment. And I think from top to bottom on this card, that's exactly what you're going to get.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then, of course, the Forrest Griffin versus Tito Ortiz. Man, I'm a Tito Ortiz fan. I mean, we go back quite a long ways. Okay, yeah, a long ways. And it's one of those fights that I love seeing him in there. I love his newfound look at the sport. And of course, Forrest, I don't think there's any question when it comes to just downright scrapping, no pun to the radio show, but actually it's perfectly fitting is, Forrest Griffin comes to scrap, bottom line. I mean, I still can't get over the Hua fight. I mean, that was just nuts, and then of course you can go all the way back to the Ultimate Fighter finale when, he had a big role, not only a great fight, but, in this big UFC onslaught that has come since that first Ultimate Fighter. How do you see this one playing out?
Well, first, I mean, you're looking at two guys literally that have probably done the most for the UFC. Tito before, carried the banner before there was an Ultimate Fighter. Tito Ortiz, and you know this from being on cards with him, it was always you and Tito together. They put a lot of stock in him. And then after the Ultimate Fighter, obviously, it was guys, new guys coming up. But when you think about this fight, this is a fight that I believe personally Tito has to win for himself as a person. That this is the kind of fight that he does not want to lose to this guy again. He wants to go out on top. And that's the thing about Tito Ortiz. When you motivate him, you never know what you're going to get. And recently, he's looked a lot better. So I'd have to say Tito.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. I mean, and again, it's got the opportunity, to have a lot of, it's going to be a lot of fun, And I think the other thing, of course, we have the two title fights. We're going to make it quick before we go to another commercial. But, Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen, I mean, he had to fight until the last 30 seconds. That's got to be just so hard to, you know what I'm saying? And then when you come down to Dominic Cruz and Uriah Faber again, they're going to go at it. Who do you pick on those two?
Well, I'm going to have to go with in the first fight, depending on the TRT levels, I'm going to go with Anderson Silva. And in the second fight, I think Dominic Cruz is at a point right now in his career where he is lightning in a bottle, and I think he's ready to pop the cork all over Faber this time.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank y'all for joining us on Scrap Radio. Don't go anywhere because when we come back, we have one of the top female fighters on the face of the earth joining us, the headliner of this week's all-female fight card at Invicta, Marloes Coenen.
Scrap Radio would like to thank BJPenn.com, the official website of five-time UFC champion BJ Penn. For all the latest and breaking news in MMA and combat sports, make sure you check out BJPenn.com, the official website of BJ Penn. And don't forget to check out Scrap Radio every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, hosted by three-time UFC world champion Jens Little Evil Pulver. Scrap Radio, the official radio show of BJPenn.com.
All right, welcome back to what will be the number one radio show in the world, according to bjpen.com and myself. This is Scrap Radio, and I'm your host, the Little Evil, Jens Pulver. And so we're going to keep it moving with our next guest. Let's get our next guest on here. Former female champion, great role model for all aspiring women MMA fighters. She'll be headlining Invicta this Saturday. Marloes Coenen. Am I saying it right, Marloes?
It's pretty good, and thank you for having me on your show. It's a great honor for me as well.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad you're here. I mean, so I guess I'm gonna go right off the bat. Is headlining Invicta. How you feeling? How's everything going? How's training been? How pumped up are you? You're headlining this fight. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm really ready to go. I arrived in Kansas at Sunday, and I stayed quite a while in Kansas in 2011 after I got cut from Strikeforce, and it feels a little bit like home to me. People are very kind, and I've trained really hard, and after my loss to Misha, I haven't been fighting anymore, so I'm really, really, really pumped to fight again. And Invicta is, in my opinion, it's the next step in the evolution of MMA to become a mainstream sport. So, yeah, I'm really excited.
Hey, Marloes, you made your debut back in 2000, and just a two-sided question here. One, how have you managed to stay that pretty? And two, coming off your last fight, you were in a very tough fight with Misha Tate. And now it seemed your stand-up, you were definitely dominating the fight from that aspect. And then it seemed that her wrestling kind of took over the fight. What have you done to work on your wrestling for this fight in particular?
Well, like I said, I stayed in Kansas for 3 months, and there I met Eric Aiken, and he's from the East Kansas Wrestling Club. He has been fighting in 5 different weight classes, and well, the man is amazing, and he has been teaching me private classes as well. And tonight I will go to his gym too, and he really became a good friend of mine. And well, basically what I learned is that prior to, when I was fighting in ADCC, I started focusing on wrestling. I thought I could wrestle, but I couldn't wrestle at all. And I really start to understand how complex the sport is. And I've got a big love for wrestling. I really, really love to do it. But in the Netherlands, it's hard to find a good wrestling school because, it's not big. Thai boxing is big in the Netherlands. But I think I kept the basics that Eric taught me, and I really notice it while I'm now working out with the guys, when I'm grappling or wrestling with them, that I have way more control and everything. So I think it will be harder to take me down and keep me on the ground now.
Yeah, you don't want to mess around with that. You got too many subs. I can't, that's the one thing that people trying to take you down. It doesn't seem like it's the smartest avenue altogether. And then now you're going to add in that wrestling, and now they're going to end up in even worse positions with that sprawl and the way you can, handle it standing up. I'm kind of excited. I'm looking forward to the fight. It's I'm pumped for you. So you've been out there for 3 months in Kansas City?
Yeah. I stayed with the owner of Invicta, with Shannon Knapp. And I also went to Japan. I had to do a TV show, and I was in Asheville, so I wasn't there the whole time. But when I got back, and it took a while before I found Eric. But once I found him, I trained with him almost every day, and for me it was so new because I was at an American high school, and in the Netherlands school were way different. So to me it was like I was living in this American TV set, like a high school to me, in the way that works, and with the big wrestling room. It was really amazing for a European or Dutch girl to experience that. And it was with all little boys. It was a pre-season, so they looked to me like, who's this weird girl who's training with us and can't wrestle at all? And it was a lot of fun to me.
Well, I have a feeling that the boys were looking at you for a different reason, but I digress there. Hey,
No, I don't think so. They were like 12.
so take me back to the days of Golden Glory. Obviously, this is where you started training, so this has to be a big switch for you, coming from Holland, the Netherlands, or now coming all the way to Nebraska or Kansas and the Midwest.
Yeah, well, you know what I really like about the Midwest. I spoke yesterday. I was somewhere and there were people who have visited Amsterdam a few times, and oh, they loved Amsterdam so much. And then I told them like, I really like it here because the people are so polite. They say you probably know how the people in Amsterdam are, and then they start laughing because we're really well compared to Americans, we're rude. But compared to people in the Midwest, we're really, really, really rude. So being here is like a breath of fresh air to me. And yeah, I'm fighting since the age of 18. It was my first fight, and it was an amateur fight. And then after 2 amateur fights, they already invited me to fight in Japan, and then it took off. So I already experienced really strange situations as a young girl. So to me, being here in America is relaxing. I feel at home. I really like the people, and I really want to give a good fight this Saturday. And I haven't been fighting since my loss, so you can imagine I'm really pumped. And I'm headlining the first event of Invicta, and like I said, I really think it will be the next step in the evolution of MMA because, with the Fox deal, it becomes more mainstream with the UFC. But when you have a full lineup with different girls, a lot of women can relate to them. If you only have 1 or 2 girls on the card, if I was a woman, I would look at that, I would be like, yeah, okay, but they're freaks of nature, they're just crazy in the head. But if you have a full card with all different girls, then you can think like, oh, maybe it's something for me as well. And you can become a fan. And yeah, I really think Invicta can become big.
And I think so too. I think that women's MMA is obviously blown up to a place that now it's mainstream. I mean, before there were a lot of people that thought, oh, this is a fad. This is something that maybe one organization is trying to do to push. And usually, a lot of times it was behind a girl that was considered the face. But where do you see the future going?
Now, what I think is that if when Evita, a lot of people will be viewing the show, and Shannon Knapp, she's worked for everybody in the biz. She knows so much about it. She's really intelligent, and she has her eyes set on a certain goal, and she really wants to achieve this. So with her behind this organization, I have a lot of faith that she will pull off a big TV deal, and when it goes to a TV deal, even more people will watch it and can relate to us. And you have also the marketing will be different. If you look at the UFC, you see Harley Davidson and alpha males, and it's so tough. But when you have girls on a card, and I don't know, maybe there will be a reality show. You can see the lives behind the girls. So one can be a mom, the other can be a student. So when people get more, will know more about the girls and can relate to them, it will only blow up bigger. And I think it's good that we have a variety of girls because, what I see now, it's starting to, or you have I'm translating a word right now, so maybe it's wrong, but like the sex kittens, and you've got the buff girls, but there's nothing in between. And I like to have a better nuance, a better variety. So the audience that can become a fan will also be bigger. So less of a character exaggeration of what you can be.
And
does it make sense to you?
Yes, it does. And speaking of buff girls, okay. I not stepping on any toes. Obviously, somebody you've had an experience in the ring with. Just wanted to ask about your thoughts about Chris Cyborg's recent test and the results, obviously, of that test.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me when that happened. But I also, when she was caught, I also knew about the divorce already, and it wasn't out yet. So I really felt she was, down and out. And I was like, I'm not going to kick on when somebody's on the ground. You just don't do that when you have a heart. But when I was in the cage, I cannot remember that fight too good. But the one thing I still know, I cannot recall the pain anymore. But the only thing I knew was like, okay, the next time I'm fighting this girl, the guys really, really, really have to beat me up because otherwise it will be. Her strength is so so ridiculous because I'm a strong girl, and I know that when I'm fighting with the dudes, people are like, oh, what? But with her, I was nothing. And everything I did, I hit her on the head with a left hook. And I went to a hand specialist after that because it hurt for more than over a half year. And it didn't do anything to her. So yeah, you know, if you do stuff like that and you get caught, yeah, just like with Alistair now, suck it up and don't complain about it. And I think the truth will always come out.
Yeah, see, now you said it about the Alistair, and you know I believe he's going through it right now. On a personal side,
Yeah,
obviously,
it's happening right now, right?
yeah, it actually is,
Yeah.
and you know we're waiting kind of to find out what's going to happen, you know, and things like that. And it just seemed like, I mean, wow, they just started throwing out other country just random testing, you know, and things of that nature. And I think more than anything, how did that affect everybody over there? Because man, he's been going through this. At least it seemed like with the since he pretty much joined the UFC with the you know they were doing the intercontinental drug testing, you know, random testing and things like that. But how did that affect Golden Glory? How did that affect the gym? And, you know, or did you guys just kind of say, meh, it is what it is?
Yeah, well, you know, Alice isn't with Golden Glory anymore. And
Yeah.
when everything, you know, I wanted to use a word, but I better not do that. When everything happened, I got caught was, of course, because of they were negotiating for Alistair. So we all sacrificed a lot for Alistair. We did that because, you know, you help each other out, and Alistair would help me out as well. And that he left the management, that's his decision. And I think everybody can do whatever they want. If he left his trainer, his longtime trainer, Martijn, okay, that was something I thought it was less good, but okay, if you want to leave him as well, go ahead. But then if you're going to talk in the media all this nonsense and make everybody of the team look bad, you know, you kicked them, you stabbed them in the back in the media. And so we know a lot of things about Alice, a lot about negative things, but we never talked about it because we knew the truth would come out. And there's still this court thing going on with Golden Glory and Alistair. And if that goes to court, more dirt will come up. And you know, I believe in if you do good things will happen to you. So that's why I do not want to talk too negative about him, because I think you should focus on positive energy. And Alistair will receive his punishment for what he has done, and we don't have to deliver that to him, because karma will come and get him. That's how I feel
like
about
that.
it.
Oh, I like that. No, that's an extremely good outlook. You know, I mean, obviously I had a teammate who tested positive one time, you know, the former heavyweight champion, Tim Sylvia. And, you know, it's just kind of funny because it makes everybody, they start to look at the rest of them, you know, and I remember everybody,
Yeah.
I never had to
I
worry about it,
understand.
you know. Yeah, I never had to worry about it because I'm like, you know how much weight I got to lose? The last thing I'm trying to do, you know, is get big. But I remember the power, the ultimate power that Matt Hughes had,
Yeah.
everybody kind of giving him the stink eye. So yeah, I mean, it opens up to where they kind of start looking at everybody in the gym or everybody that was involved with them, you know, and so
Yeah.
that's always a point.
Yeah, but you know, on the other hand, a lot of people, I think the public should take some responsibility as well, because they want to see big guys, and the bigger the better. And there's a lot of money that can be made. So, you know, those guys have only one shot at a career, and it's easy to take those steps. And, you know, it's what the people want to see. It's also what happened in baseball, right? You know, with all the, how many years was that ago? You see it in every sport that people are using that stuff, and when they get caught, the audience turns around and start hating on them. But it's at the end, it is what the audience wants as well. So if you want to have a clean sport as an audience, then you should demand less of the athletes as well. That's how I feel about it too. But to me, it's like if you use that stuff and you get like cancer 20 years down the road, it would always be in my mind, like, have I had that because I use that stuff, you know? And my body is very, I really take good care of my body. I eat healthy. I'm not going to put any bad stuff in it. So I think it is less. It's less of a black and white story than it looks at the first glance, I guess.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
my mixing up my Dutch with English, huh?
I'm loving it. No, I'm saying very politically correct, and the accent. No, you're perfect. You dead on. I mean, really, if I tried to speak Dutch, it would be ridiculous. So, doing much better than I have. But hey, let's go back to your fight.
What did you say? I didn't understand it.
I was just saying, me trying to speak Dutch would just be rugged. I
Oh,
would
Dutch.
tear it
Yeah,
up. It'd
I
be
can do you some Dutch, no
yeah,
problem.
and
It's
that's
just
what
like
I'm
you're
saying.
choking, and then it sounds like Dutch already.
Perfect, and so, but now let's get back to your fight coming up. Now we can see this live on
Yeah, on the
invictus.com.
website of Invicta. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And
Yeah,
so what can we
it's
expect?
free. It will be on that's Dutch, www.com, invictafc.com. Sorry, invictafc.com.
Okay,
I'm also a little jet lagged, so that's why I'm messing up.
yeah, I was going to get into that. Has that been affecting you much? Are you able to get past that? Are you find yourself sleeping odd times or only taking naps pretty much for an entire week, or how?
Yeah, it's good when you're fighting in Japan is bad, but when you're flying to the west is good. So, but that's always why I already arrived on Sunday because then you have plenty of time to adjust to the time difference. So no, I'm good now.
Hey, one final question. What can we expect to see from you on Saturday? And as an avid Spanish soccer fan, who's going to win the European Championships this summer?
I hate soccer. My father was a soccer coach. He made me watch it all the time. But no, I like it's my first fight since I lost my belt. So you can imagine I'm very hungry for a new good fight and for a new win. And I love submissions, but I prefer KO.
Nice.
You can't beat that. Well, we'll let you get back to it. I wish you all the best. And I know I'll be watching live on
Oh, great.
www.invictus.com. So I wish you all the best. And thank you for taking the time to come on to Just Scrap.
Yeah, it
And
was a pleasure to talk to you.
All
And an
right.
honor as well.
I'll get out. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I gotta love that accent, Abel. That was pretty cool,
I was going to say more about the red light district and how I thought no one there was even rude at all. They were so inviting, but it mixed company. You never know what you're getting.
Yeah, after doing your little tour over there, I figured, hey, you want to talk about what we always know Amsterdam about is, you know what I mean? Yeah, the red lights and the what would you say? I'm trying to say the free party favors or the
Better not bring your kids.
legality, the legality of it all, So yeah, I love that part. But I mean, a lot of fun. I wish we could have spoke to Ernie Reyes. We got to. I
Hey, man,
definitely
he's
like.
doing stunts. You never
I
know
was
it. He
gonna
could be on
say,
fire right now.
hey, you got to, to be able to talk shop and see, which stars out there that he can take. But again, run down. I mean, what were we talking about earlier? Oh, we've been watching him. He was the Last Dragon.
What's Disney Sunday movie?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you what, though. One of the things that I was going to say, coming up here in the next couple weeks and things like that is who should we get on this show? It's just one of those things that let's get after it. Who are we going to throw out here? Who would you like to interview?
Stay tuned.
That's my boy. That's what I'm saying. But I think, and the other thing that I'd like to do, I was talking to the powers that be, the producers. One of the things to all you out there listening, let's start going to bjpen.com and we'll start putting on there that you want to come on the show. And when we start doing things like this, where we're breaking down the UFC that had happened the night before, the UFCs that are coming up. I think we're just going to have to start bringing in some surprise guests. We're going to have to just start bringing out some winners, from the website, from the contest, and we'll get them on here, and we'll do the 20-minute wrap about the fights that happened and some fights that are coming up. So I'm excited to really start getting people out there and getting them involved with the radio show, because the one beautiful thing about this is a little unsanctioned. We can go no holds barred. I think we'll keep the cussing to a minimum, but we'll see what kind of crazy characters we can get on here. And I'd love to hear, the fans' perspective of the fights coming up.
Should be good. Guys, keep
Yeah,
tuning in.
absolutely. So I think with that, anything else you want to rumble off with? Hey, it's been a lot of fun. I told you, little brother, I was going to get you out there, find that one thing, get you on here and start hanging out with me. And I always tell everybody, one of the reasons why I wanted Abel is this kid's been with me from day one. I mean, from the first fight all the way to the last fight. And, so it's real cool to have him on here, and you help me out with that, because you're my brainchild when it comes to the technical side of breaking down fights and fighters and questions and stuff like that. So I just want to thank you, and I think we need to start making it a little more permanent. I think you need to make this your second home. What say you, Abel Pulver?
It was fun, man. I really enjoyed myself. I like, I like talking to fighters. I like talking fights. It's what I like to do. I'm that guy. I'm motor mouth. I sit around and drive people crazy because I always want to be in the know. I want to know what's coming up and what's going on. So thank you guys for having me. And hell, if you ever want me on again, I'll be right here.
No, I think we're going to keep you on. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. Now we just got to get you into the Twitter aspect of it. You're old school, man. You don't. We got to get you tweeting out there and get some followers, and they can tag on to the at Jens_Pulver, and then we got to get like at Abel _Pulver or something going. We got to get you tweeting, buddy.
Yeah, right. I doubt I'm going to have a lot of fans.
Hey, we don't need fans. We just need to tweet our opinions. You know what I mean?
Let them be heard then. All right. I'll let you teach me. How about that? You taught me about Skype yesterday. Guys, I am getting into the 21st century.
That's it. Hey, we have lights and telephones now. Yeah. Oh, and speaking of, and the sickest desk, I know this. I have to get Red Harbinger on here. If you guys go out there and Google Red Harbinger PC desk, I was showing all these guys today, being the gigantic gamer that I am. And that's one of those things. Go to the site, tell us who you'd like to see on here. We're not just MMA. We're going to get after all walks of life. And I want to get the gaming side on here. These guys built the craziest desk, has 2 computers inside of it, 3 monitors on top. They were telling me yesterday that it's got a refrigerator down by the feet. Most gamers know the least times you have to get up. I'm waiting for a urinal somehow to be plugged off to the side, and then we got it. That's it. You know what I mean? So we'll be set. So we're going to get them on here. We're going to get after that. And again, leave your comments. Let us know how we did. Let us know how I did as I take it from the cage to the mic and we start doing a radio show. But that is going to do it for us here at Scrap Radio. I want to thank our producers, Pedro Carrasco, Aaron True, and the crew from bjpen.com. Remember, we will be here each and every week, most likely on a Tuesday unless we're on the road, breaking down the fights, talking to celebrities, fighters, and bringing you our insane antics. And as I get more warmed up and I have Abel there pushing me and motivating me a little more, there is a crazier side. You've seen the Ultimate Fighter 5. I do have 3 other personalities that tend to come out and say hello. But with that, I'm Jens Little Evil Pulver, and we're going to get crazy
Abel.
next month. And then with my co-host, so cool, Abel Pulver, from all of us, we'll talk to you soon. That is it. Peace out. What is it? Oh, in the formal words of Schnocky, may you rest in peace. Peace and hair grease. We'll talk to you soon. Everybody be good.